Welcome to Breakthrough Success. I'm your host, Mark Roberti, CEO and founder of the Content Marketing Plaza, bringing you 3 new episodes each week where I and top-level guests teach you how to take your business to the next level and achieve your breakthrough. And we have a great guest who's going to talk about something that we don't always cover on the show. And when it comes to personal development, which will be a focus of this episode, one of the things that we have to think about is parenting and how are we able to raise better children, especially in an atmosphere where it may not always be easy to do that. So we're going to talk about how we can be better parents, as if I've experienced that. But our guest has a lot of experience in that and helping others in this episode. So who are we talking to right now? We are talking to a state and national award-winning educator who is the author of some highly praised common sense parenting books such as Wise Up and Be the Solution and Family Pledge. He speaks in front of local, state, and national organizations on common sense parenting, and he was one of the breakout speakers at the National Family Engagement Summit in Richmond, Virginia back in March 2018. So today's guest for episode 368 of Breakthrough Success is none other than Dr. James Casale. Dr. Casale, it is such a pleasure to have you on the show.
Mark.
I'm so happy to have you on the show, and I feel like this is such an important topic because we really focus on creating an impact with our business, with our brands, but it's also about having that impact on the family. So I definitely take this topic deep to heart because I'm lucky to be raised with a good family, so hope we can share a lot of great insights with the listeners. I'm wondering if we get some background first, so can you just share with us why you decided to help other parents and take this path that you're currently on?
Yes, easily. I spent, 50 plus years in public education as a teacher, assistant principal, assistant superintendent of schools, college professor, a lot of graduate work. I have come to the conclusion, since I've worked so much in the public schools, that the only thing that's going to save the public schools are better families. This is not a secret, by the way. This has been around for many, many years. So I've been very passionate in my books, in my talks, to try to inform and engage parents and have them understand their sacred responsibility as their first teachers and role models. I say often and forever, don't rely on someone else or the schools and forget that village nonsense to raise your children. They don't raise your children. You raise your children. And my books are going to help you raise your children. And I think to start off with, so you know what the basis of my passion is, it's not just something I made up along the way because I happen to be an experienced educator, administrator, etc. I want to inform the listeners of, well, I don't know how old your listening audience is, but this occurred in 1966. Let's see, let's do the math. That's 54 years ago. Does that make sense?
Yeah, close to that time frame.
4 years ago. Okay. You may be too young to, maybe some of your listeners never heard of Daniel Moynihan, but he was an preeminent senator from New York State. He had some very interesting things to say about education. But the most profound thing that was said about education was said in 1966 by a landmark sociological study called the Coleman Report. If more educators would read the Coleman Report, they wouldn't be doing this silly research on how to improve education. Example, Bill Gates, a very well-known philanthropist, billionaire, recently spent, he spent about $200 million of his own money. A couple of school districts chipped in $300 million. Let's do that math again. I'm not even good at math, but I know that's almost $500 million.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out how to improve the schools. Isn't this cute? So what he did was, the hypothesis was, if you could examine really great teachers, study them, know what makes teachers really great, you could transform the schools by teaching all of this to other teachers. Well, Mark, the landmarks, his study was 7 years in the making. It was a failure. I wrote him a letter. when I read the results of the study, I said, Mr. Gates, I could have saved you a lot of money. You started out with an hypothesis that was so erroneous, not even funny. Everybody knows what you're trying to do isn't even possible. There certainly are many fabulous, outstanding, highly effective teachers in our country, but there's not enough of them. And because there's not enough of them, you can't rely on the public schools to raise your kids or teach your kids. He learned a very valuable lesson. In fact, I actually heard back from whoever represents his department who deals with his education initiatives. And I'm not speaking negatively about Bill. I'm speaking positively about his efforts. All over the world, he's trying to help people. This was a mistake, and I'm going to tell you why. In 1966, this landmark study, which was completed by the Department of Education, Elementary and Secondary Education Act, they decided to study the schools. Gee, how can we make them better? Let's see, more money, more resources, better salaries, lower class size? No. The results were so, well, they used the word seismic. They were so intriguing and unsettling because everybody on the planet thinks, hey, all we need to improve the schools is better teachers, better salaries, lower class size, more computers, more resources. Not true. This is a myth. And the myth was exposed by the Coleman Report. I'm going to read you some. I'm going to read you a quote from this article. The report concluded, by the way, I have to throw this in. The education department was so thrown back by the results, they didn't even want to publish it.
Oh, wow.
They didn't want to publish it because none of their preconceived notions of improving the schools came out in that report. This is the conclusion. The report concluded that the qualities of the families from which children come to school matter much more than money as predictors of schools' effectiveness. The crucial common denominator of problems of race and class and fraction families would have to be faced, but it wasn't. What this means is it's the quality of the family that matters the most. Listen, bring the baby home from the hospital. You know, there's a lot of research that says actually learning starts in the womb. Good research. You bring the baby from the hospital. What goes on in those first 5 years before your child is sent to school, and then after that is the predictor of your child's success, not the quality of the school, not that you had a really great teacher. I mean, if you have really great teachers, look, nobody has really great teachers every year, in every class, in every grade. That's not possible because it never will be. I know this. I hired these people. I hired them for years. I was a principal for 16 years. I hired teachers. I hired fabulous teachers. I love my teachers. But all the teachers in that school were not high quality teachers. What parents have to do at home is what I outlined in my books. Actually, there's 3 books. The first book was Wise Up and Be the Solution, which was published traditionally and had a phenomenal review on Kirkus. You know, when I saw the review, I was a little nervous because Kirkus doesn't guarantee you that they're going to say anything nice about your book. So when it was sent to me and I started reading it, I loved the first sentence, I loved the second sentence, I loved the third. They wrote 500 positive words about Wise Up and Be the Solution, my first book. That was the good news. The bad news was the publisher didn't market the book. They're sitting in a warehouse somewhere, not marketed. It's just insane. So my second book, which is the book we're mostly talking about today, is Family Pledge, The Ultimate Guide to Raising Smart Kids in a Broken School System. This book is now on Amazon. Amazon is a bestseller in several categories, and it brings the parents a little bit further than the first book did. The books are different. The theme is similar, but the books are different. I would urge parents to purchase both books. I just finished my third book. My third book is a Christian book. a Christian take on raising children. It's called the Five Commandments. I'm now shopping it around to various publishers to see if I can get it traditionally published. If I don't, I won't be disappointed, because I think I can do more as a self-published author marketing my book than probably they can. Why did I write the third book? I wrote the third book because the first book, I only mentioned God once. It was a sentence that went something like this. The baby that you and God created. Now, I'm always talking about becoming your child's first teachers and role models. When they acquired the book from me, they made me take that sentence out. I wasn't allowed to mention God. And then they asked me to add 4,000 more words to the book, which I did. And then they didn't market it. I think they got it on BookBub. It sold maybe 1,500 copies, downloaded, whatever, digital copies. But the print copies are just sitting in the warehouse.
Yeah, you got to do your work as the author. It's not the publisher, usually.
Right, exactly. The publisher. Anyway, that precipitated my third book, which is called The Five Commandments, Raising Christian Children Successfully. It's not out yet, so don't get that excited. However, the three books complete my common sense parenting trilogy, which I'm very, very excited about, because the main theme here is the quality of the family is what matters most when you're raising children. That's the theme. And I will get into any details about it at you, whatever you want to say after that.
I mean,
I'll start with that because it gives your audience a basic foundation of why I'm so passionate about common sense parenting and my ideas for parents to raise children successfully.
I mean, it definitely does start at the home. I feel like people think that, again, I'm not a parent. I get that, but I see things. So I feel like a lot of people think they just send the kid to school and then the school gives them
the kid.
the product that they want. And the parents with the most successful children, they usually put a ton of work into their children. It's not passive. Like the things you want the most to get them, it's never passive. Now, in the end, we're talking about passive income, things like that. In the end, something like that can become passive, but it never starts passive. You got to be super active in the areas that you want to see success in. So for parents looking for that edge, what are some of your suggestions for improving in that area?
Well, I'll take you a little bit through the first book touches on it a little bit, because the key to all of this, first of all, let's think about, look, your children didn't choose you. You chose them. You chose to be a parent, okay? You have responsibilities. Your responsibility is to become your child's first teacher and role model. And this is what you're going to do. I outline in each book, there are these suggestions come up. It's more pointed in the third book. The second book, that one that we're talking about today that's on Amazon right now, is a book composed of 40 essays. It's not a chapter book. You don't have to read the first chapter. There's no chapters. It's 40 essays. You pick out the essay you think sounds interesting to you, and you can start the book there. You can read anywhere you want. You will hear, somewhere in the 40 essays, you will hear me talk about the critical components of being a successful parent. One, attitude. You have to have attitude. If your attitude, what you just said before, Mark, was, I'm going to send my kids to school. I'm going to send them to daycare. Those people are going to take care of my kids, not me. This is a terrible starting point, and that's a terrible attitude. Your attitude is, I'm going to be the best parent I can. I'm going to learn how to be a good parent. You've got to think positively. Why do you have to think positively? Because parenting isn't easy. Parenting is hard. I say in one of my leading statements, parenting is not brain surgery or quantum physics. It's harder. It's harder than that. And you start the ball rolling by saying, hey, I can do this. I brought these kids into the world. You have to start with a positive attitude. Number two, you have a positive attitude. Now you have to come up with a family mission statement. All three books will help you do that. You have to have a statement in your house. You have to hang it on the wall. I give you examples in the books. This is how we're going to be as a family. By the way, your family mission statement is not just for the kids. It's for you too. It's for the parents. So whatever you decide about how I'm going to raise my family, that's for everybody. Now I'll read you a sample one. This might help. This might help you think about what I'm saying. First, attitude. You determine what's most important in terms of raising your family. What kind of kids do you want to have? By the way, this is what you're supposed to be thinking about before the baby's born.
Right. Planning's key.
Before the baby's born. Gee, what kind of a child am I going to raise? Okay, so now the baby comes home from the hospital. You have the baby in your arms. You're rocking the baby. You're singing the baby song. You're playing Beethoven in the background. I don't know what the heck you're doing, but you love this baby. You want this child to grow and to be successful. You want this child to be a person of character and virtue. And so you say, gee, write it down. This is what I say. Write that down. Here's an example. Here's an example of a family pledge. I pledge allegiance to parenthood and the responsibility and accountability that it requires. I promise to love, nurture, teach, and protect my child by being a caring parent and a role model. I will establish a culture of learning in my home that is characterized by love, kindness, respect, responsibility, and hard work. Now you put that on a poster and you stick it on the wall. And that's what you refer to when you're raising your kids. That's what they see when they can first read. That's what they see. They see that. They see mommy and daddy referring to that. This is what we want our household to look like. I give 4 or 5 other examples in my book, my third book, but there are several examples in my first book, Wise Up and Be the Solution. In the second book, I believe there are some too. So that's number 2. You have to have a mission statement and you have to post it. Now, the mission statement is not the 10 Commandments. As I said in my third book, the 5 Commandments, the 10 Commandments were written in stone. Yours will not be written in stone because they can be modified and changed a little bit. You remember the old, maybe you're too young to remember the old Mel Brooks movie, History of the World. Did you ever hear of it?
No, not me.
Very funny. Well, I think there was part 1 and part 2. I think in part 1, he has a scene where Moses is coming down from the mountain with 20 commandments, 10 in each hand, and he drops one and it breaks into pieces on the ground. He's about to say, and I have and he drops one and he says 10 commandments in stone. Your commandments are not in stone. You can modify your family mission statement when you feel like, as circumstances warrant. But that your family mission statement is your little constitution that you're going to run your household with. These are the kind of children you want to raise, and just the kind of a person you want to be as a parent also. So now you have a positive attitude. You have a family mission statement. Okay, and now comes the third part. You have to have some leadership skills. In my third book, I go into that in a lot of detail, but I do it in a these books, I want to say something about the books, the jargon-free books, parent-friendly. There's not a lot of jargon, and they're not written that way. You will I save parents a lot of work in my third book. They don't have to do any research on leadership. I do it for them and put it in very simple terms. But it does require some leadership skills because, by the way, you're in charge. Okay, the parents are supposed to be in charge. They're supposed to be the adults in the room. Okay, so some leadership skills are required. So put those 3 together. There's my little package. There's 5 things: the attitude, family mission statement, the leadership, and now comes the hard part, maybe the hardest part. That's the plan. You have to have a plan. You're not going to be running around by the seat of your pants thinking that you're going to be the best parent in the world. You have to have a plan. And the plan is pretty comprehensive in terms of it has to follow your family mission statement. You say, oh, well, I want to raise my children to be kind and respectful. You as a parent have to be kind and respectful also. So you have to be doing kind things in the house. Everybody says please and thank you and excuse me. And people are civil to each other. Mom and dad have to be civil. That's what they teach their kids, to be civil. Mom and dad have to be honest and tell the truth. They want their kids to be honest and tell the truth. That's part of the whole plan. A big part of the plan is also routines. Kids love routines. You better have routines for your kids and stick by them. You can change them, again, as circumstances warrant. If you're a working parent, you will have different routines than if you are a stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home dad. So that's all outlined for you in the third book. The final thing to do is make sure you are evaluating yourself.
Yeah.
After all the things you've done or say you're going to do, a self-evaluation is a component that's important, because now you're going to say, gee, did I do what I said I was going to do? So that's covered also in the third book. But the book I want to talk about today, mostly, is Family Pledge. You have a copy? Did I send you a copy?
I do not have a copy on me right now.
I didn't send you a copy. Okay, so you can't hold it up. If I hold it up, if I hold my book up, could someone see it? Could they see it?
Yeah, they would see it.
Wait, don't go. Can you see it?
Yep.
It looks backwards to me because I'm showing it.
Yeah, I can see it the regular way.
So you see Family Pledge.
Yes.
You see this Amazon best-selling seal.
Yep.
The broken pencil.
Yep.
Well, go to Amazon and buy 10 or 15 copies now and give them out to all your friends who have kids. Or look, this is the best baby shower gift on the planet Earth. Never mind diapers. Never mind Enfamil. Never mind that stuff. You know, what do parents do when they're expecting a child? You know what they do? They fix up the room. They paint. They buy a crib. They buy the other accoutrement that goes with the room. They got the clothes. Everybody gives them little baby things that the kids grow out of immediately. Buy them a book.
Yeah.
Buy them the book. This book will set them on a path they can't believe. In fact, buy them all, both the books. Wise Up, Be the Solution, and this book. They're both good books. That's what I say. It's the best baby shower gift on the planet. If you know anybody has small kids, it's not that it wouldn't work with big kids. It works. It's harder. You know, if you got teenagers in the house already, and now you're going to change the whole environment of the house, good luck. I'm not saying it can't be done, but that's not the place to start. The time to start is before the baby is born or when the kids are really young. That's when you understand how important attitude, family mission statement, some leadership skills, and a plan is for yourself and your family. This book, as I said before, 40 essays that teach parents through essays. It's just not do this, do that, do this, do that. Let me give you an example. A couple of years ago, do you remember the kid that fell into the zoo enclosure?
Yeah.
Cincinnati Zoo?
Yeah.
Big headlines, national headlines. So some crazy woman over here in South Florida, she writes a letter to the newspaper, the local newspaper here. It's called the Palm Beach Post. And she says, it's no big deal. You know, one time when I was with my child, we were on this little bridge and she fell through the cracks in the bridge and fell down below into the creek. But she was all right. These things just happen. Nonsense. I got so incensed by her stupid attitude, I wrote a follow-up letter to the editor. Well, actually, it wasn't published as a letter to the editor. It was published as an opinion piece, a commentary. No, these people were almost arrested for being negligent. You know, negligent parents are. You know, there's babies dying in cars because the stupid parents leave them in the car. Right. You ever see parents walking their kids to a Walmart parking lot? Kids are 15, 20 feet behind them, and they're in front. These people know nothing. They're ignorant. I thought these people should have been arrested. I got an email right after my article from the police chief in a nearby town thanking me for saying that these parents were negligent. This kid was 2 years old.
Right.
He falls into the zoo enclosure. That's your fault. It's not the kid's fault. You know what they did? They shot the gorilla. They killed the gorilla. He didn't harm the child. The child wasn't harmed. They killed the gorilla. In these stories, true stories and essays, that particular essay was called, was it the gorilla's fault the kid fell into the zoo enclosure? No, it wasn't. It was the parents' fault. So these lessons, there are 40 lessons in this book that cover all the things in the other book also, in a different format. As I said, these are 40 essays. Students, foremost teachers at home. Who's teaching your child about character and virtue? Who's doing that? Is the school supposed to do that? No. You, the parents, you're supposed to do that. Don't blame the teachers. It's always the teacher's fault if something goes wrong. No, it isn't. Yes, there's a lot of lousy teachers, but there's a lot of great teachers. They can't raise your kid. What you do at home is really important. You know, when I used to give these little speeches as a principal to my parents at, say, a 5th grade graduation or something like that, I always told them that, you know, your kids were, some of the success of your kids is laid to you because they're genetically blessed. They have parents who care about education. That means a lot in a household. Parents who care about education and think it's important. The parent report card, 6 things you must do during parent conferences. How can dads contribute to their child's success? How to say no to your kids and mean it. High stakes testing at school. Who is Kim Ki-hoon and is tutoring necessary? The root causes of failing school. A Holocaust survivor's lesson to his grandchild. Handguns in kindergarten.
Wow.
Yeah, kindergarten in Houston brought a loaded handgun to school. He said, parents. Whose fault is that? The parents. Empty lots and building forts. Why electronic devices suck. It's too much screen time.
Right.
Now the research is proving how harmful too much screen time is to your kids. What can parents do about bullying? What are you doing for the holidays? To spank or not to spank? Should parents pay their kids to do household chores? All these essays will point to this theme.
Right. And
parents, you want to raise kids that are men and women of character and virtue. You have to be a person of character and virtue. You have to be their first teachers. You have to be their role models. It's that simple. It's profound, though. It's simple, yeah. But it's so profound because it's not easy.
Right.
And I'm trying to say to parents, look, I know this. I have 2 kids. I have 4 grandchildren. It's not easy. It was never meant to be easy.
Right.
So you have to, the parents who are interested in being a better parent today, let me tell you something, Mark. This book will change your life in 2 hours.
Right.
Just read it. Take 2 hours to read it. It's not the paperback. It's a little more than 100 pages. My other book was Wise Up. This is the Wise Up B Solution. I wrote on the cover because it's a desk copy. Change your life in 2 hours if you want to be a better parent. If you don't want to be a better parent, turn off the podcast now. If you're interested in being a parent, or you know somebody who's about to be a parent, or you know someone with little kids, or you plan to be a parent, this parenting book, Family Pledge, as I said, will change your life in 2 hours.
Yeah, we will throw those books in the show notes for anyone who is interested in getting their copies, because I feel like these are really great topics to think about with parenting. And it's great for anyone, even if you're nowhere close to being a parent. It is great to pick up your copies to have an idea of what that kind of experience should be like. So I appreciate you sharing those books and taking the time to share all of your great insights with all of us on Breakthrough Success. Are there any other places we could find you in addition to all of your books, which we'll include in the show notes?
Yes. My website, www.commonsenseparenthood.com. In fact, you can buy the You can buy the books from my website also. It'll take you to Amazon, but it's the same thing. But it doesn't make any difference to me if you just buy the book. I think you'll appreciate what I've tried to accomplish in these books. So it's on Amazon, the #1 bestseller, and it's on my website. Also on my website are a group of more essays that parents can read. If they go in and join now, they get 2 free ebooks of mine. They'll have access to a lot of other essays on my website as well as my books. And that's about the only places I would say you could get it. I wouldn't know. I don't. You know who the largest bookseller on the planet Earth is?
Yeah.
That's where you go.
Dr. Casale, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show and sharing all of your great insights with us. If you are wondering how can I grow my business, one of the things I do offer is free strategy calls. So you go to markcaberti.com/strategy. If you want to learn how to grow a podcast, if you want to learn content marketing, self-publishing books, stuff like that, that will be in the show notes as well. But Dr. Casale, once again, thank you so much for coming on Breakthrough Success. It was great to have you.
Mark, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.